All right. Okay, great. So we'll record this webinar as well, folks, so we can share it later on. We usually put them on YouTube after we're finished, and other folks that couldn't get a chance to watch have a chance to watch. So just want to welcome you to our webinar here this morning for the Pennsylvania Tax Credit Program, also known as EITC OSTC. We're going to talk about what that means and what those details are, and give all of you the details and the basics of the program. The basics of the program, fairly simple. However, there are a few steps that it takes to get signed up and to participate, and we'll talk about all of that. I will start with a few introductions. My name's Matt Dwyer. I serve as Executive Director of Development here at HolyGhostPrep. On the call with us as well is Dana Samuel. Dana serves as our Coordinator of Development Services here in the Office of Development. And Dana is going to be helping with the presentation. If you have questions and you'd like to raise your hand, you can use the raise your hand function there on the button there on your menu. Or if you would like to type a question in the chat box, you can do that as well. Dana will keep an eye on those and let me know if folks want to raise your hands, which you can throughout. We'll try to keep a steady flow going, but if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free. And then also we are joined by two of our members of our development committee here at school. One is Chris Taylor. Chris is an alumni parent. His two sons graduated in 17 and 19. Chris is also a participant in the program, so he has some experience and some comments to offer as well. And then Stan Gondek, also a participant in the program. Stan is a member of the development committee as well. And Stan is a current parent, has a senior here at HolyGhostPrep. So let's dig in. Our agenda today is the following. We're going to talk about scholarship dollars at HolyGhostPrep, what that means, how much they mean to HolyGhostPrep and the operations of our school. We'll talk about the EITC OSTC program, the eligibility, how you become eligible for the program, any next steps that come out of the webinar today, and then finally we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. So please think about those if you have some of those. Merit and need-based scholarships. So as many of you know, we are a tuition-driven school, and the majority of our dollars to operate our budget come from tuition. So what families pay to send their sons here to HolyGhostPrep is about 92% of our entire annual budget. The other 8% or so comes from fundraising dollars, whether it's the annual giving program we have, annual fund, several other sources fund that other 8%. And of that 8% is largely made up of merit and need-based scholarship dollars that we raise on an annual basis. So about 20% of our annual budget, or $2 million plus goes towards merit and need-based scholarships. That continues to increase year after year. So it highlights why those dollars are so important. And a couple reasons why they're important is it improves accessibility to HolyGhostPrep. It supports diversity to HolyGhostPrep. So, we continue to pride ourselves on recruiting the best and the brightest, but also recruiting those students that are the best fit for HolyGhostPrep, as well as those students that believe HolyGhostPrep is the best fit for them. And we want to keep HolyGhostPrep accessible to all students to all of those students, regardless of their geographic background, their socioeconomic background, their ethnic backgrounds. So we really rely on these dollars to help keep that accessibility and diversity in place. Over 55% and growing of our student body receives some type of merit and need-based scholarship. So whether it's just financial aid or it's an academic scholarship, over 55% of our students receive some of those dollars. And then finally, why is this important? Because all of these things speak to our spirit and charism. And like I said before, that aspect of accessibility, supporting diversity, and making sure HolyGhostPrep is accessible to all students if they want to attend our wonderful school. So how do we fund merit and need-based scholarships? I mentioned that a few minutes ago, but of course, through Holy Ghost Fund donations, our annual giving program that takes place each year. We also fund merit and need-based scholarships through named scholarships. So sometimes individuals will designate just for a specific scholarship that they want to create. And then thirdly, we also help fund scholarships through our endowment. Our current endowment stands, our total balance stands at about $5 million that we use interest earned from that endowment each year to help pay for merit and need-based scholarships. And then finally, one of the other ways we help fund our scholarship dollars, financial aid and scholarship dollars, is through this program, the EITC OSTC program. And this year, we're projected to spend through the program about $650,000 of that $2 million. So I mentioned before, we give out over $2 million each year in merit and need-based scholarships. Of that $2 million, $650,000 is supported through the EITC OSTC program. So you can see the tremendous impact that it's having. Excuse me. So what is the EITC OSTC program? EITC stands for the Educational Improvement Tax Credit Program. OSTC stands for the Opportunity Scholarship Tax Credit Program. And these are both maintained and operated by the state of Pennsylvania. And we'll talk about their origins in just a minute. So how do we define EITC and OSTC? What are their purposes? EITC scholarships are specifically designated for students with a household income, family income of $90,000 or below. So this is a household income benchmark that defines EITC. This is a larger program. EITC is larger than OSTC, but the OSTC program you see there is defined by the household requirement. So you have to meet that requirement of EITC household income wise. But then it's also for students, for scholarships for students living within the boundaries of a low achieving public school district. So each year, the state of Pennsylvania puts out a list of what they consider low achieving public school districts. If one of our students lives within that district and they also reach the household income criteria, they would qualify for EITC, they would qualify for OSTC dollars. So they have two criteria to reach there. And we have, just as a reference, we have over 90 plus students, we're probably at 100 now, that fall within one of these two categories, the EITC or OSTC category. The program history. A lot of folks ask, when did this start, or how did this whole EITC OSTC program come about? It was actually established over 20 years ago in 2001. Pennsylvania was one of the first states to pass an educational tax credit program. It initially was aimed at corporations. So originally it started exclusively for corporations and businesses to participate. And it wasn't until, I would say, a few years ago that individuals are now allowed to participate in the program. You can see there, OSTC was established in 2013. So we started with EITC just for businesses. And then we went to EITC and OSTC, again, just for businesses in 2013. And now, as of about 2017, individuals are now allowed to participate in the program. The budget, I list there the budget then and now, you can see at the bottom. So when the program first started, it was a $30 million program. It made up $30 million of the overall state budget. And now in 2021, for EITC, we are over $225 million dedicated to the Pennsylvania state budget. For EITC, OSTC is $55 million. So those two amounts make up the entire program today. And you can see the growth from 20 years ago. And a lot of folks say, wow, that's over $280 million. That's a lot of money to dedicate to this program, which you're right, it is a lot of money. But compared to the overall state budget, it's less than 1%. So of our 34 plus billion, these are 2020 numbers. Actually, in 2021, the budget has gone up, but the entire program makes up less than 1% or 0.6% of the entire state budget. And as far as the education budget goes, which is within the overall budget, it's 1.7% of the overall education budget. So a lot of money for sure, but at the same time, it's a relatively small percentage of the overall state budget. What are the benefits of the program? Well, both programs, EITC, OST, allows individual and businesses to receive up to a 90% tax credit against your personal Pennsylvania tax liability. So if you make a donation to the program, 90% of that donation gets credited towards your PA tax liability, or what you owe the state at the end of the year. Now that's for a 2-year commitment. An important aspect of the program. 2-year commitments receive that 90% tax credit. 1-year commitments receive a 75% tax credit towards the program. So the bulk of, if not all of, I would say 99% of all of our participants have always been 2-year commitments. It just makes a lot more sense that way, and there's a big motivation to get that 90% tax credit. So most of our folks sign up for 2-year commitments. So how does this work? What is the process? So we go through an organization, and here at HolyGhostPrep, we do not manage or administer our own EITC OSTC program. It is administered through an organization called Blocks. They are a Catholic nonprofit group that specifically supports Catholic schools. So Blocks, as you can see there, stands for Business Leaders of Catholic Schools. We've partnered with Blocks, which a number of Catholic schools have done in the area. All of the archdiocesan schools have partnered with them. Many independent Catholic schools have also partnered with them, and we've had a really great and positive working relationship with Blocks to have our donors sign up through. How does it work for an individual? So an individual would join what's called a special purpose entity, or an LLC. You would become a member of that LLC. You would sign an agreement to become a member of that LLC. It's done electronically. It's an electronic agreement. At that time, an individual will then donate to that specific LLC. That LLC will then, in turn, send those donations or those contributions to HolyGhostPrep. So you sign an agreement, you send a donation to that LLC. Let's say it's called, LLC number 25. You would make a donation to LLC number 25. The folks at Blocks would take those dollars and they would send them back here to HolyGhostPrep. We would use them for those financial aid scholarship dollars that I mentioned and talked about before, which is our third bullet there. How it works for a business. Again, businesses are still able to apply for these dollars. Again, the majority of our folks now, about 80% are all individuals, but businesses can sign up. The businesses have what I would call a sign up and a lottery process. So there are certain deadlines to sign up. If you would like to sign up as a business, July 1st is the state deadline to sign up. The business owner or the rep would then be entered into a lottery selection for those available dollars. It's simply done by a lottery. You're either approved within a few weeks as a business, or you are put on a waiting list throughout the year. That means if folks drop off or they decide not to participate, they go through their waiting list to then add new businesses to the program. If you do get accepted, a business would donate to an EITC, OSTC approved scholarship organization like HolyGhostPrep, and that the amount would equal the approved amount of that business. So if a business is approved for $10,000, then they would make a donation for $10,000. Again, we then use those dollars for tuition assistance for our eligible students. The business application, again, as I mentioned, deadline is July 1st of each year. The application includes your intended donation amount, and you would apply on the DCED website. The lottery selection is on that day of application if dollars are available, or anytime that day. So what that means is if you apply on, let's say July 1 is a Tuesday, you're then slotted in the lottery as a Tuesday entry or Tuesday participant. If you sign up on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So ideally, if you sign up on that first day, if you're a business, then you're put into that first day's lottery. You don't have to go on at 12:01 a.m. at night just to sign up to get first in line. They just take them all in one day, which is in the past. They actually did have you go sign on that early. So here's one illustration that we've done. I've done two illustrations, actually. One is for a $5,000 gift. One is for a $10,000 gift on the next page. So let's say, for example, you estimate that your annual state income will be $5,000. You would join a Blocks LLC designated for Holy Ghost Prep donors. You would donate that $5,000 to Blocks, to that Blocks LLC for benefit of Holy Ghost Prep. At tax time, at the end of the year, it usually takes up to about 2 months. Blocks will then send to you a K-1, which is similar to a 1099, for $5,000 to be applied to your Pennsylvania state income tax. So they will send you a K-1 that shows you gave $5,000 to that LLC. Pennsylvania, the state will then give you a credit for 90% of that $5,000 donation. So if you owe the state $5,000 and you submit the K-1 that said you gave the gift to Blocks for $5,000, the state will still be asking for $500. So they will give you credit for $4,500 of that gift that you made. You will still owe $500 or 10% to the state to fulfill your $5,000 liability. So that's why we say there is a small out-of-pocket cost to make a gift to the program and to participate in the program. You can see at the bottom there, that out-of-pocket cost is $500, for example, on a gift of $5,000. So you're giving $500 out of pocket, but that translates into $5,000 for financial aid scholarships for students of Holy Ghost Prep. So that's the multiplier. That's the vertical lift you get out of a $500 investment increase. Is multiplied and turns into a gift of $5,000. So that's why the program is so valuable. I gave another sample gift illustration. So I took a gift of $10,000. So if you made a gift of $10,000, you would get, again, 90% tax credit on that donation, $9,000. In addition, something I didn't mention in the last one, but in addition to that, you can write off that $1,000 that you still owe to the state as a charitable deduction. Not the whole gift, not all $10,000, but you can write off that 10%. So in addition to that, you would get, if you're in that 35% tax bracket, you would get another $350 off of your federal taxes. Again, in this instance, the out-of-pocket cost is $650 to make a $10,000 donation, or as I listed at the bottom, a $325 investment to make a $5,000 donation to HGP. I didn't take the federal deduction off the previous one, but this is the calculation of the formula that makes up the benefit from investing in the program. Am I eligible? Who is eligible for the program? Well, we are all eligible if we pay taxes in the state of Pennsylvania and we're a resident of the state of Pennsylvania. So that's eligibility in a nutshell. Any business or individual that has tax liabilities within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is eligible to participate in both EITC or the OSTC program. Now, I will say this: Blocks requires a minimum of $3,000 donation to their program. So it's really, folks, if your tax liability in Pennsylvania is $3,000 or more, you would participate. We as a school have applied for the last 2 years. We've been put on the waiting list, but we're trying to create our own LLC, our Holy Ghost Prep LLC. And if that ultimately becomes approved, then we would require a $2,000 minimum donation. So eligibility is pretty straightforward. I think if you read this, you can see that if you're paying Pennsylvania state taxes, then you are eligible. Next steps. So something I like to leave everyone with. So folks, this should be 2020 tax return, but something I like to leave folks with. They say, well, how do I figure out if I'm eligible? Okay, I think I'm eligible. What's the amount I should think about giving? One of the best next steps is to review your 2020 tax return to establish your PA state tax liability amount. So, and I know this varies for folks from year to year. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, whatever you owe the state every year. But if you look at your last year's tax return, typically that'll give you a good benchmark for setting the number you can participate in the program. So if you look in last year and you say, wow, I paid $7,500 in taxes to the state of Pennsylvania. Well, that $7,500 is a good benchmark to start with. Maybe you give a little less than that just because you're not sure what you're going to make in the upcoming year or finish off this year, but that's really good benchmark to start with. Also, next step to email myself or Dana to request to join a 2-year LLC agreement with Blocks. We will then connect you with the folks at Blocks. They will send you the agreement to sign. You would send your check back to them within, they usually like to get them within 10 to 14 days of signing the agreement. So I know I ran through a lot of the all the basics of the program, but I'd like to just pause here to see if anyone has any questions. I don't know if there was anything typed in our chat box on the screen there, Dana, or if anyone has their hand raised, but happy to answer.
No hands up and no questions in the chat so far.
Okay, then I might ask maybe Chris or Stan, is there anything you think I may have left out or you'd want to just add to the program itself? I do see one chat. I'll answer that question in a minute, but Chris,
sure.
You want to add anything to that? And then Stan, you can add a comment too.
Sure, I'll be happy to start. I guess Holy Ghost approached me probably 2 years ago. And at the time, they provided contact and I called the contact. I was a little skeptical because it just seemed too good to be true. You know, so it took me probably 6 weeks to get there, Matt, if you remember that. I'm like, wow, it just seems really, really hard to believe that this is such an advantageous program for schools like Holy Ghost. But I finally signed up for it. It's extremely simple. The DocuSign document comes through and, you know, you pick your amount, whatever the case is. I personally have a New Jersey tax preparer. He said it took him about 10 to 12 minutes to understand the program because New Jersey doesn't have a similar program. So don't be concerned if you happen to have a New Jersey tax preparer. This guy picked it up very quickly, you know, understands that LLC program, did it very easily. And then just, I guess 3 weeks ago in the middle of September, maybe early September, I just got my re-up for the next 2 years because I've done it for 2 years now. That was simple again, DocuSign, sign it up, put the amount in, and off we go. Now, if you, in the case where Matt was describing it, where you work for a company that is taking your PA state tax dollars out on a regular basis, then you do front some money in the September, October timeframe, and you get it back at the tail end. If you're self-employed like I am, then I just take it out of my quarterly estimated payments to the PA Treasury all during the course of the year. So I'm not even out of pocket at all during the course. I was at the very start when I started the first year in September, but going forward, I'm not out of pocket at all, which is kind of nice. And I think that's it. I mean, I'm happy to take a one-on-one call with anybody. And Matt, you can send them my phone number, send it out to everybody participating in this call, leave me a message and I'll call you right back. I will and go through it. If you have any other questions or anything like that, I'm happy to do it. It is a great program. It's a simple program. And if you can take advantage of it on behalf of Holy Ghost, it's great for Holy Ghost.
Great. Thank you, Chris. I did see a couple questions pop up. Maybe let me answer a few of these, and then Stan, if you want to chime in, feel free. But so I'll go through the chat box here. First question is, how does a family contribute to more than one school? Well, once you enter the program, there will be a line on your agreement that you sign with Blocks, and that'll have that exact question. You would designate a specific percentage to Holy Ghost Prep, ideally. If there's another school, we do have some folks that might want to support their Catholic grade school or another Catholic high school. Maybe your son goes here, your daughter goes somewhere else. You know, you can do that. You would just designate that on your agreement, on your Blocks agreement. So you have the choice to do that. The second question is, for the donation check, is that the out-of-pocket amount or is that the entire amount of the donation? It's the latter. So it's the entire amount of the donation. So if you ultimately decide to donate $5,000 to the program, that out of check amount is $5,000. And as Chris mentioned before, if you've already paid some of your PA state taxes, you would then ask for a refund for those dollars you've already paid. So you would get them back. There is a time lag, as Chris mentioned. you're in the beginning of the program, you do write the check for the full amount. So that's the entire amount you're out of pocket, but then you get it back later the following year. And then one of the other questions I got, do we decide whether we participate in EITC or OSTC? You don't. You would just sign up to the LLC that Blocks puts you in. They will slot you in the right one that they have room for. And then for us, the benefit of Holy Ghost Prep is we have enough students that qualify for both programs. So because they qualify for EITC and OSTC, we always let Blocks know that we can take both sets of dollars. So they'll slot you in the right one that is advantageous for them and for us, and they'll help make that determination. So you don't have to worry about, okay, how much left do we have in EITC, OSTC? You just apply, you just sign up for their LLC, and they'll put you in the right one.
Real quick, Matt, Mr. George Mundy has his hand raised. If you want to answer him real quick, and then we can get back to the chat.
Sure, go ahead, George.
How you doing, Matt?
Good.
Question for you: if it's a 2-year commitment for the 90% tax credit, is it necessary that both years' contributions be exactly the same, or can they vary? Can you do more or less one year? How does that work?
Typically, they're the same.
Okay.
Yeah, so typically they are the same. We have had some instances where someone signs up for year one, and then the following year they realize, wow, I really could have given more that year. I could give more this upcoming year. And in those instances, we can accommodate those. Blocks can accommodate those by sometimes creating another agreement and signing up that way. And they have a way to do that. But typically, you sign up for 2 years. It's typically the same amount both years. It's definitely, it becomes harder to reduce it for year two.
Right.
It doesn't mean we can't work within that. We have Blocks has pretty creative ways of working with folks, but typically, yes, 2-year commitment, same amount.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, and also real quick, we had a question about getting Chris's information, and Mr. Taylor, I was just wondering how you would like to share that. I think you could probably respond privately in chat, or talk to Matt about how we might want to distribute that, maybe your email address to everyone who participated afterwards.
Well, Matt can send the email. I can certainly give my phone number right now so everybody has it. And if you want to call me in 20 minutes, you can. Right.
Sure.
So
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's 215-622-3990.
So we had another question, is one of the results of the program that other scholarship dollars are now available for merit-based awards. So for potentially for students that don't qualify for income, but do qualify for scholarships. So one of the movements and projections through our budget and Holy Ghost Prep is we continue to raise the amount of dollars that we give out each year to merit and need-based scholarships. So the idea that our EITC, OSTC dollars are going up and increasing is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's not necessarily offsetting the entire increase of our merit and need-based scholarships. It's in a lot of ways, it's helping us to increase year after year because it keeps going up. But does it help with merit need-based scholarships? I would say in theory, it could. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are increasing our merit-based scholarships, although we do every year based on the pool of applicants that we have. But it's not, I just say that because it's not a dollar for dollar increase, if that makes sense. Now we're giving, 200,000 more this year through EITC. It doesn't mean we automatically increase the merit amount by 200,000. It's kind of a staggered step ladder that we're walking up because we continue to increase the dollars we give away each year. What if the second school is not a Catholic school? If you want to determine 2 different schools, that probably won't work. I don't think that'll work, but we could ask about that. Are you able to share the LLC agreement template? Yes, great idea. We need to have that cleared by the employer. Yes, absolutely. After this call today, I'll send out, as Chris mentioned, I can send Chris and Stan's contact information as well as some templates of what the LLC looks like. Great question. Just to confirm, this is available for individuals as well as LLCs. Yes, that is correct, Frank. You can do It's an individual program as well as LLCs or business program as well. The individual side is much easier. It's easier to access. We can have you signed up for an agreement within a week or a couple of days, actually, if you want to sign up as an individual. The business side, you'd have to wait until their application cycle, which would be next July. So you'd be waiting, and at that point, you'd be put in a lottery. You might not even be sure if you got in it or not. So that's why we've been driving folks to the individual program. It's had a lot of traction, a lot of great success for us. So it's gone really well.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. Stan, did you want to add anything to that? I know we've had a lot of conversations around the program and a lot of great benefits. Anything you wanted to add that you thought that I might have left out there?
Sure. I don't want to be redundant because Matt and Chris touched on a lot of items that I would have said as well, but I can't emphasize enough how easy and streamlined they've actually made it over the past couple of years. Aside from the wealth of experience and knowledge that we have on the Ghost team with walking you through the process, even when you're dealing with the folks at Blocks, they make it very simple to do it. They accommodate you. Their communications back and forth with you. You don't feel like you're left hung out to dry. So typically when people hear about messing with their taxes, for lack of a better word, they get a little nervous. It's no one wants anyone breathing down their neck, but it really is that simple. The DocuSign is very easy. The contract is in terms of lawyer speak, it's very easy to read. So it is. If you look at your tax obligation for your state for the last 2 years, you have a pretty good feel of where you want to be. Someone asked the question about can I contribute more? Can I change the amount? Typically, you want to go where you think you're going to be comfortable with. If I was going to give unsolicited advice to somebody doing it, if it varies greatly and everything, err on the side of caution, because typically, changing anything like a change order would be more difficult. But it's a great program. I can't say enough good things about it, and it's the ability it gives Ghost to provide the opportunity for these kids. It's second to none. I can't say enough good things. As far as the tax returns, guide them through the process. It's you see as you go through it, like you sign the contract, they tell you where to send everything. It's really, they lay everything out point per point, and it really doesn't take much time at all. So I think it's an opportunity that people shouldn't look up.
Great. Thank you, Stan.
Matt, this is Chris. The one other thing I would add too is the Blocks folks, as Stan pointed out, are very helpful. And there's they're not trying to pressure you to close. You should feel very comfortable calling them, and they're not going to pressure you. If you just don't feel it's right, there's no pressure to close on their behalf. They're there to provide information. Some people end up doing it after they talk to them. Some may not, but there is no pressure. So you shouldn't feel hesitant to call that you're going to be in some high pressure situation or something.
That's true. It feels it's not a used car salesman. That's a very good point. You feel safe, and you don't. I will say, in my personal experience, I didn't walk away with buyer's remorse, so to speak. It's when you go into it, you feel like, oh my God, why did I do this? But it's great for the kids you're given the opportunity for. But as far as it's really a one-line item on your tax return. There's nothing complicated about it. A child can figure out this on a tax return. It's not very sophisticated from an accounting standpoint. So it is really easy. And even the people at the state of Pennsylvania with your returns, they work with you, and everything's basically streamlined. So again, Chris offered it as well. Any questions that you have, we can actually walk you through it and connect you with some of the people that we deal with as well. So we have it pretty nailed down at this point.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. The common refrain I hear after they sign up is, why didn't I do this sooner? I wish I would have done this 5 years ago. And that's okay too. It's taken us time to promote the program, to talk about it, to get the word out and to share it with folks. We do a couple of these each year. We've started them as well. And that's a good, looks like we have another question. This is a really good question. So is 100% of the donation going to HGP, or Blocks takes a percentage? Blocks does take an administrative percentage of that. It's 5% of the total donation. So if you give, let's just say round number $10,000 donation, Blocks would take $500 of that before it comes to HolyGhostPrep. So they do have an administrative fee for their for administering our program. For us, it's really worthwhile. It's a minimal investment for us to allow them to administer it because they have access to all of the LLCs. They've already applied for them. They've already have capacity and the ability to place our donors into these LLCs. If we were to do that on our own, one, we would have to create the LLC and gain capacity through that lottery system to build up our LLC. And then we'd have to administer the K1s every year. There'd be an administrative cost to doing that. So for us, the 5% cost that Blocks charges is really a win-win. But that's a great question.
And most charities that you donate to, right? There's not all of it goes to the cause, right? There's always administrative costs, and 5% is quite low relative to other charities, if you will, in quotes.
Yeah.
True. And truth be told, it would cost us more if we were to take that on ourselves, because we're paying for the resources, we're paying for all that back office. I think it would cost us substantially more money and a lot of time and aggravation, and chances are chance for error. So
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Well, great. Thank you, folks. I don't know if I see any other questions. Dana, do you see any other questions up?
Yeah, there's a question if you have to write the check for the entire donation amount upfront each year.
Yes, that would be, yes. I think, yes, that's correct. The entire donation amount is the first check that you would write. So it is for the entire amount. It's not the out-of-pocket amount. That out-of-pocket amount initially starts as the entire donation. Now, what you would do, as Chris mentioned, the following year is you would not withhold any of those state taxes. You would just pay that amount through you would pay your state taxes through this LLC contribution in October, when Blocks asks folks to send their check in. So initially, yes, the initial amount is the overall total gift amount.
But that's the way you would do it if you were a sole proprietor too. But if to a typical person that just is getting a paycheck every, a couple times a month, couple weeks, you have the initial upfront investment that's out of pocket. And after that point, it really is just a matter of you wait for get your return and you get 90% of it. And then it's basically you're just recycling the money. So it's really that upfront investment that you're fronting the money, and then it just keeps rolling over into it. And every 2 years you get a contract. So it's pretty easy at first. Like the first time that you go through the process, you don't know how it's going to go. And speaking to dealing with Blocks, it's like you're dealing with someone who cares. It's not like you're being hard sold anything that you don't want to do. So it's relatively easy.
Great. Well, folks, we've had you on for about 40 minutes. That's the typical time of these webinars. Like I said, they're pretty straightforward. We try to keep it simple. It's a relatively simple program, but there are a few steps to take to get signed up. So after today's webinar, we'll send out a link to the webinar. Secondly, we'll also send out some of that contact information folks were asking about. I also think I know someone requested a template of what an agreement would look like. I have a PDF of that. Happy to share that as well. It's a great document to look over. And if anything else comes up, you'll have our email, everyone's contact email, myself, Dana, Chris, Stan, we're all available to talk with you. I even listed a few other of our development committee members at the bottom there, Sean O'Hara, Rick Henn, some other alumni, current parents, and we'd love to help you. It's a tremendous program that's having a huge impact on our young men here at HolyGhostPrep. So I'll thank everyone again. Thanks Dana. Thank you, Chris and Stan as well. And we'll be in touch, folks. Thanks again for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys.